I'm going to give you the truth because your health actually depends on it, and the long-term solutions, not the quick fixes. So here it is. You may have heard this before. Maybe you've been struggling to believe it because of all of the misinformation that's out there on social media and things that you've read online, but you cannot. Welcome to Slay, the podcast where we dive into all aspects of female health, fitness, and life. I'm your host, Louise Hazel, and in today's episode, we're diving into one of the most common topics that I get asked about on social media. It's belly fat. Now, whether you're post-pregnancy, stressed out, or perimenopausal, belly fat is something that many of us women struggle with. But don't worry, I'm going to cover everything that you need to know about how to reduce belly fat in a healthy and sustainable way. We'll discuss why belly fat can be stubborn, the science behind it, and more importantly, what you can do about it. So before we get started, there are a couple of things that I need you to know. There are two different types of body fat. The first type of body fat is subcutaneous fat, which is the fat that is stored just underneath your skin. It's the type of fat that you might notice around your waistline, at times when you notice you might be feeling a little bit fluffier than normal. The good news is that subcutaneous fat is relatively easy to get rid of with the right lifestyle habits. You can get rid of it quickly and you can keep it off, and I'll show you how to do that if you keep listening later. Now, the second type of body fat that you may have heard of is called visceral fat. This is the type of fat that surrounds your internal organs like your stomach, liver, and intestines, and it's more closely linked to more serious types of health risks such as heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Now, it's important for you to understand the causes behind visceral fat in order to comprehend why it can be more difficult to get rid of than subcutaneous fat. Your genetics and your lifestyle will determine the amount of visceral fat that you store. Your genes will determine how and where your body stores visceral fat, but your lifestyle in particular and your diet and exercise habits will determine how much visceral fat you store. So, for example, a poor diet with a high intake of processed sugary foods and fatty foods and an inactive lifestyle provide the ideal environment for increased visceral fat, which is what we want to keep to a minimum. Now, it's important to understand that stress is also a factor too. That doesn't mean you should aim to live under a rock for the rest of your life in search of a zero stress zone, but you should feel like you have a good balance of good and bad stress, because stress activates the hormone in your body called cortisol, which activates your fight or flight response and your sympathetic nervous system, which in turn triggers the storage of more visceral fat. Unlike subcutaneous fat, visceral fat is metabolically active, meaning that it plays a vital role in how your body functions. And again, it's important that you understand the negative effects of increased visceral fat beyond just aesthetics, because excess belly fat can have significant health implications such as increased risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, metabolic syndrome, and also hormonal imbalances. Now, speaking of hormone imbalances, for ladies approaching perimenopause in their early 40s, you need to be aware that reduced levels of estrogen, especially during menopause, which typically arrives in your 50s, can also lead to weight gain around the midsection. So managing estrogen levels through diet and lifestyle and even hormone replacement therapy can help you to achieve more balance and, more importantly, mitigate against increased belly fat. So it's not just about how your clothes fit or how you feel, it really is about your health. So next, I'm going to give you all of the tips that you need to tackle stubborn belly fat head on. But first and foremost, I have to be 100% real with you here, as a lot of you will have come to the podcast looking for some miracle solution. But I'm going to give you the truth because your health actually depends on it, and the long-term solutions, not the quick fixes. So here it is. You may have heard this before. Maybe you've been struggling to believe it because of all of the misinformation that's out there on social media and things that you've read online. But you cannot spot reduce belly fat, or any other area for that matter. This is the cold, hard truth. You can't target belly fat with crunches or ab exercises. Sure, you can build a stronger core with certain ab exercises, but you'll just end up with a strong core that's still encased in fat. So while you can't reduce or spot reduce fat, building core strength can improve your posture, reduce back pain, and give your midsection a more toned appearance as the fat begins to melt away. So some great core exercises include planks, crunches, side bends, mountain climbers. But also heavy lifting will also help to build a functional and stable and strong core. So many people still believe that doing endless sit-ups will melt away body fat, but that's just not how it works. Here's exactly how fat loss works. And here are the top 5 things that you need to do in order to get rid of that stubborn belly fat. Now, the first thing, before anything else, in order to get rid of belly fat, be that subcutaneous or visceral fat, you'll need to sustain a calorie deficit, which means burning more calories than you consume. Now, it's important to understand that just because you've been eating in a calorie deficit doesn't mean that you're losing fat. You might just be losing weight, and that weight could be made up of water, muscle, or fat. So if you overly restrict your calories, this will more than likely slow down your metabolism and almost certainly lead to muscle loss, not fat loss, which you don't want. So you can track your calories over the course of 1 week. Don't change anything, just eat normally. Now in the second week, what I want you to do is reduce the average number of calories you ate by 250 calories per day and stay there until you reach your desired weight or aesthetic. The second thing you can do is make sure that you're eating enough protein. You should be aiming for 1 gram of protein per pound of your target body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you need 150 grams of protein per day. That's equivalent of 5 chicken breasts, which is hugely unrealistic. So find a good source of protein for yourself, a protein shake of at least 25 grams per serving. You'll need to supplement if you are new to fat loss. The third thing you can do when it comes to exercise is you're going to want to prioritize weightlifting, because lifting weights helps to increase lean muscle mass, which in turn boosts your metabolism. So the more lean muscle mass you have, the more calories you'll burn at rest, including belly fat. So focus on compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, lunges, shoulder press, and bench press. And engage multiple muscle groups and burn more calories overall. So make sure that you're lifting in a rep range that will help you build or at least maintain muscle mass. So we're looking at 3 to 4 sets of 8 to 12 reps, and make sure you're lifting enough weight. You should start to feel fatigue around about rep 8, but you should be able to finish all the reps with good form. And you should be aiming to lift weights for at least 3 sessions per week. Now, the fourth thing you can do is cut out all alcohol. And I say this with the utmost respect, and I don't care whether you drink 1 drink a night, whether you're a social drinker, a nightly drinker, a weekend drinker, whatever. I cannot stress how bad alcohol is on your metabolism. Your body recognizes alcohol as a toxin and process it before processing other nutrients. Ultimately, this slows down your body's ability to burn fat. And alcohol also reduces your sleep quality, so your body's more likely to wake up unrested and stressed. You're also more likely to consume more empty calories when drinking, especially if you like a cocktail like me. And not to mention the additional calories that are consumed when we get a little bit tipsy and get the munchies. Now, one of the biggest reasons that most of you struggle to reduce your belly fat is sometimes a refusal to ditch the drink. So if you're serious and you want to get rid of alcohol altogether, then you can reassess your relationship and intake with it once you've reached your actual goal. The fifth and final thing you can do, which we often underestimate, is the power of sleep when it comes to fat loss. Lack of sleep can increase the hunger hormone ghrelin, which will make you crave unhealthy foods and lead to weight gain ultimately. So you want to aim for around 6 to 8 hours per night of quality sleep, practice good sleep hygiene, keep a consistent bedtime, reduce screen time before bed, and shut off that television. Now, if you're already doing most of these things, then here are 5 more nuanced tips that you can try to help burn belly fat. The first thing you can do is increase the amount of fiber in your diet, as it's going to help improve your digestion and keep you fuller for longer, which will overall reduce your calorie intake. Now, some great sources of fiber include vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. The second thing you can do is include healthy fats into your meals, as these will help you feel more satiated and support your overall health. Some great sources of fats: avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, and fatty fish like salmon. Now, the third thing you can do is avoid refined carbohydrates and sugars. Regular consumption of highly processed foods and sugary drinks can create insulin resistance, which makes it much harder to burn fat and easier to store it around the abdomen. High levels of insulin in the body will also lead to fat storage, particularly visceral fat. So reducing sugar and processed carb intake can help improve insulin sensitivity. Instead, focus on whole grain foods, vegetables, and naturally sweet foods like fruits. The fourth thing you can do is stay hydrated. Drink plenty of water, as this is going to help with your digestion, prevent bloating, and reduce cravings. Sometimes dehydration can also mimic hunger, which can lead to overeating. So aim for at least 2 liters of water per day and an extra liter if you're exercising for over an hour. Now, the fifth thing you can do is walk. I can't stress how important it is to move your body. So you should prioritize weightlifting. But if you combine this With a calorie deficit and aiming to hit 7 to 10,000 of steps every day, you'll see an amazing improvement in fat reduction and overall health. Now, the sixth and final thing that you can do is try and reduce the chronic stress, because it triggers cortisol production, which can lead to more fat being stored in your abdominal area. You can try stress reducing practices such as meditation, mindfulness, yoga, or breath work. Now remember, the key to losing that stubborn belly fat is consistency, not perfection. It's not about strict diets or punishing exercise regimes, but rather creating a balanced and sustainable routine that works for your lifestyle. Small and manageable changes can lead to significant results over time. Now, that concludes this episode of Slay. Stay tuned for more empowering discussions on female health, fitness, and life. You can follow me at Louise Hazel on social media, and you can check out the Slay brand now at Slay Athletic Club. And don't forget to subscribe to the Slay podcast if you haven't done so already on YouTube, and leave us a comment. You can also get fit with us at home using the Slay app. You can download that now for free from the App Store and join our online community.